so that my future wife could successfully kidnap me. I walked to the intersection where I was taken in my past life, and just lay on the ground, rolling around. Ha ha ha. I feel so unwell, so unwell. The next second, 4 bodyguards in black who popped out of nowhere, carefully lifted me into a car. Mission accomplished. Ah, time to sleep. Time to sleep. When I woke up and saw this familiar room, I rubbed my hands together. Baby Shuyi, am coming for you. Ahem. I overacted a bit. I quietly looked around. According to the plot of my past life, this woman might be secretly hiding somewhere. I slowly sat up from the bed, reached out to cover my forehead, and pretended to mutter casually, "Ouch, why is my head so dizzy?" I sneaked a glance around. Everything was as quiet as before. I raised my voice. Ah, I feel so terrible. Am I dying? Is she not here? Impossible. She was right nearby in my past life. Maybe I'm not trying hard enough. All right, then I'm going to start my performance. The do-on acting method. Showtime. I pretended to be weak and fell back onto the bed and started rolling around in discomfort. Seeing that she was completely unmoved, I'm exhausted. Why isn't this woman showing up yet? So I simply rolled over and sat up. I don't know if it was because I rolled around too much and lost my strength, or what, but my left foot tripped over my right, and I face-planted straight onto the floor. Fuck, this floor is freezing. I quickly scrambled up. No one saw that, right? It would totally ruin my handsome and elegant image. Humph, fine. If you're still not going to show up after this, I'm out of here. The moment my hand touched the doorknob, my wrist was grabbed tightly, and I fell straight back onto the bed behind me. Looking at the woman standing by the bed, save me. Aim, save you? How do you want me to save you? Looking at the woman standing by the bed, a hint of amusement flashed in my eyes. Look at that, you couldn't hold back anymore, could you? Shuyi. I don't feel well. Mum, where does it hurt? I gestured for her to look at my red hands and knees from the fall. I fell down just now. Heh, is that all? Who brought me here? Me, of course. My chin. This is too perfect. It's exactly the same as my past life. No, wait, it seems a little different. Did my proactive approach scare her off? I propped myself up, ready to lean in for a kiss, but Gu Shui's slender finger pressed against my lips. Chen, you're so proactive today. Shouldn't we have a little chat first? What is there to chat about? If I knew you'd be like this, I wouldn't have been so proactive. Why don't you feel bad for me at all? But this woman was clearly distracted. Gu Shui gently stroked my face. The warm touch made her feel like this wasn't real. It's a living, breathing Chen. Whenever I think about how Chen was saved by someone else in our past life, I just want to keep him obediently by my side. But if I do that, he will never smile at me again. In our past life, because I locked Chen up, he kept avoiding me later on. Forget it. Just let him go in this life. Gu Shui reached out and opened the door. You can go. I was instantly dumbfounded. Holy crap, why didn't this happen in my past life? What's going on? Why did this woman suddenly change her tune? I sat motionless on the bed. Gu Shui, why don't you care about me at all? I thought to myself, feeling a bit anxious and frustrated. Isn't it just about being together? Just say it. Say it out loud, and I'll agree to it. Do we really have to repeat the exact same path as my past life? Wait, that's not right. With Chen's personality, how could he possibly stay here and say these things? She simply took a step forward and gave a gentle push. I let myself fall back onto the bed. This woman really hasn't changed at all. That was probably just a butterfly effect from my rebirth. How about you stay by my side from now on, handsome? I'll give you whatever you want. I burst into a smile. Those eyes stared intently, watching my reaction. Here it comes, here it comes. The plot is finally kicking in. All right. Since you're willing to accept me, I'll stay and keep you company. When others find out that I'm with you, they'll only envy my luck. I wasn't entirely sure how big Gu Shui's company actually was. I only remembered that the year I entered the entertainment industry, she had acquired an entertainment agency and turned it into a top-tier powerhouse in just 3 years. And for those 3 years, she didn't have a single scandal, though it seemed my own debut also took exactly 3 years. Seeing me like this, the woman was completely stunned. Why is this different from what I expected? Chen, you said it yourself, so no backing out now. When I woke up the next day, there was no one beside me. Oh man, my poor back. This woman is incredibly strong. I walked into the walk-in closet and saw a collection of menswear perfectly suited to my taste. I knew it. This woman is tough on the outside but soft on the inside. My phone rang. It was my agent, Fu Yexing. Oh man, old Fu, in my past life, when I was blacklisted by the entire internet, he was the only one who kept trying to find me resources and tried every way to clear my name. Unfortunately, he later offended someone unknown. His family suffered a sudden tragedy, and he suffered a mental breakdown as a result. He never managed to recover in the end. Thinking of this, I closed my eyes. There's a high chance he was implicated because of me. I answered the phone. Fu Yexing's voice came through. You brat. I was only away on a business trip for 2 or 3 days, and you've caused such a huge mess. Do you not know how fierce the competition in the entertainment industry is? Or have you just been blind to it? How could you fall into their trap so easily? I'm too embarrassed to even admit that you're my artist. Back in the company, no one believed in Ah Chen. I was the only one who thought he could make it. It took so long for him to finally get some traction. But with this incident, Ah Chen's future path is going to be even harder. I froze for a moment. Fu Yexing actually didn't suspect me. His first reaction was to assume that I was set up. I listened to him nag quietly until he finished. I'm sorry. I was careless this time. Sigh. Actually, I was faking it. I didn't fall for their trap at all. Fu Yexing paused for a moment. With his usual nasty temper, shouldn't he be lecturing me endlessly about it right now? As long as you know. Where are you now? Hurry up and come to the company. After confirming that my emotional state was fine, he breathed a sigh of relief. I hung up the phone and casually swiped through the news headlines. Popular young actor uses any means necessary to secure resources. As I scrolled down, the name in the article was slowly revealed. After hanging up the phone, I went downstairs and saw the housekeeper respectfully opening the car door. I thought that crazy woman went to the company. I didn't expect her to be waiting for me here. I got into the passenger seat and locked eyes with her. Ah Chen, where are you going? My agent told me to drop by the company. I have to make money to support the family, don't I? Now that you're with me, you don't have to work so hard. Is my money not enough for you to spend? After saying that, she leaned in closer. I looked at her. Oh my. Gu Shui is so beautiful. But aren't we still keeping our relationship a secret? What if one day you don't want me anymore? Shouldn't I prepare for that in advance? Gu Shui stared at me for a good while. I won't. It took me a moment to react before asking her. Want what? She didn't answer me, but looked at me and gently said, make sure you buckle up. Shuyi, you're so good to me. But if one day you decide you don't want me, you'll be left all alone. I couldn't handle that. Hearing my words, she suddenly slammed on the brakes. With a loud thud, my unguarded forehead slammed right into the windshield. Ouch. We just got together, and you're already thinking about us breaking up? What's wrong? Did I make you feel threatened in some way? Or are you already regretting this? I quickly shook my head. I don't regret it at all. How could I possibly regret this? I worked so hard to win you over. Gu Shuyi let out a charming laugh and restarted the car. She drove all the way to the entrance of my company. I was in a hurry to get out, but she grabbed my arm and stuffed a card into my hand. I was so touched that I was on the verge of tears. Gu Shuyi, you're the best. I grabbed the card and quickly shoved it into my pocket. Gu Shuyi, bye. Call me anytime if you need anything. I made a call me gesture, turned around, and ran toward the building. From behind, Gu Shuyi said softly, let me know when you get off work. I'll come pick you up. It wasn't until I reached the entrance that I realized something was off. Wait a minute. Why does it feel like our roles have been swapped? Why does it feel like our net worths have been swapped? I turned around in a daze and saw her standing there, quietly watching me. My heart inexplicably felt at ease. Fu Yexing was already pacing anxiously at the company entrance. After what happened yesterday, a bunch of reporters had staked out downstairs. I need to intercept Duan Chen. I can't let him say anything reckless. But then he received a text from a subordinate. Brother Xing. He's already in the office. Fu Yexing looked completely bewildered. How did he get in? Why didn't I see him? And the reporters didn't stop him either? Fu Yexing rushed upstairs in a panic. Meanwhile, I was leisurely drinking tea. I looked up at him. Got any work lined up for me? Fu Yexing looked at me. I've got some inside info here. You can take a look at it. Also, about last night, it caused a lot of trouble for the company. Your appearance on that news show got cancelled. He sat down and scratched his head. The internet only has a memory of 3 seconds. Every time you miss a public appearance, your popularity takes a massive hit. We didn't have many opportunities to begin with, and now we're completely screwed. I curled my lips. It's fine. The outcome is pretty much the same as my last life anyway. But in my past life, I was so depressed over this that I missed out on some massive news. The group is holding an open audition next Tuesday. In my past life, the Duan family claimed they wanted to comfort me, telling me to rest at home. They kept this news completely hidden from me, and only let me out after the cast list was finalized. I was even moved by their gesture at the time. I didn't notice a thing. But later, everyone in that drama, except for the villain, blew up. Every single actor became a massive star. In this life, the first thing I need to change is that I absolutely must attend that audition. Seeing that I wasn't anxious at all, Fu Yexing frowned deeply. Liven up a bit. You already have so few opportunities to get on stage. If you don't fight for this, even the gods won't be able to save you. He pulled out a few scripts. See if there are any you like. Get ready to audition for them in the next couple of days. I shook my head. I already have a target. I'm going to the open audition for Linghai. Fu Yexing's eyes went wide. Are you serious? I heard there will be at least 1,000 people at that audition, fighting for just a handful of spots. A bunch of A-list and B-list actors will be there. How are you going to compete with them? I said seriously. Precisely because of that, I have to go. Even if there's only a 1 in 1,000 chance, it's still better than wasting time on these mediocre scripts. After saying that, I turned my back to him. Fu Yexing looked at my back, sighing with worry. Fine, give it a shot if you want. It won't hurt to try one more time. I didn't reply. I looked down and saw my phone ringing again. It was my dad, Duan Mutian. I couldn't help but let out a cold sneer. I hadn't forgotten a single thing about what happened in my past life. I grew up in an orphanage. Later, the Duan family came looking for me, claiming I was their biological son who went missing years ago. I treated the family with absolute sincerity, but Duan Mutian never saw me as family. Back then, when I was maliciously framed by my peers and smeared all over the internet, not only did he refuse to help clear my name, he placed me under house arrest under the guise of comforting me. Afterward, he frequently took me to networking banquets, claiming it was to expand my connections. Knowing full well I had a bad stomach, he forced me to drink heavily every single time, completely ruining my health, my acting resources, exposure, and contracts. Every opportunity was secretly intercepted by him and transferred entirely to his other son. He ruthlessly destroyed my once promising acting career, leaving me to suffer from illness and the entire internet's abuse as I plummeted to rock bottom. All the suffering I endured in my past life was meticulously and intentionally orchestrated by the Duan family. I clenched my fists. The grievances and unwillingness for my previous life were deeply engraved in my heart. It was precisely because of Duan Mutian's calculated schemes that Gu Shui, in order to protect me in our past life, took on all those unwarranted charges by herself. Such a gentle and beautiful girl ended up with such a tragic fate. How could I not resent the entire Duan family? The call connected. I cleared my throat. What is it? As expected, Duan Mutian acted very caring. I saw everything online. Dad believes you. Where are you right now? I'll send someone to pick you up. I coldly refused. No need. The company is already handling it. I won't trouble you. Fu Yexing watched from the side as I stood there like a boss, yet spoke in a pitiful tone, as if I'd been driven into a corner. The expression on his face was absolutely priceless. He muttered under his breath, "Can you at least try to act a little more convincingly? I can't just sit back and watch." "What do you mean, causing trouble? You are my son, the future hope of the Duan family, and the only bloodline your mother left in this world. If something happens to you, who else is going to protect you but me?" He spoke with such righteous indignation, but I sneered inwardly. If he really wanted to protect me, those online rumors would have been scrubbed clean long ago. At the end of the day, anyone can talk a big game. "Duan Chen, are you listening?" I put him on speakerphone. Duan Mutian continued his hypocritical act on the other end. "The online backlash has been fierce lately. It must be tough for you at the company too. Why don't you come home and rest for a while?" I sounded cautious, even a little submissive. "I don't need to rest. Can I just go back to grab a few things?" After saying that, I took a huge gulp of the milk on the table. Duan Mutian chuckled. "Grab a few things? Once you step through the doors of the Duan family, you should learn to behave. Of course you can, but I don't think your company is going to give you any good roles anymore. Why not quit the entertainment industry and come home to inherit the family business?" Duan Mutian made it sound like he desperately needed an heir, and as if he was so supportive of his son chasing his dreams. I immediately feigned surprise and said, "Really? I'm already in this state. It'll be hard to make a comeback. I might as well learn how to manage the company from you." Duan Mutian's face stiffened. "Haven't you always wanted to make it in the entertainment industry? Don't force yourself. I have a banquet to attend tonight, and a lot of famous directors will be there. It'll take you to meet them. How could I possibly give the family assets to him? He can't handle the Duan family's business at all. He doesn't deserve to inherit it in the slightest." Fu Yexing listened to the voice on speakerphone and cooperatively kept quiet. He watched as I gave a half-hearted agreement. The moment I hung up, Fu Yexing patted his chest. "Ah, Chen, don't tell me. Are you actually some rich family's eldest young master out here experiencing life? If that's really the case, don't you still have a chance to make a comeback?" I tossed my phone aside. "I'm just someone adopted by a wealthy family. That's all. We won't rely on them. We rely on ourselves. Got it?" I sounded like I was lecturing a child. After saying that, I laughed at myself internally. Aren't I relying on Gu Shui's support right now? But it doesn't matter. I'll definitely give it my all to build a successful career. In the future, it'll be my turn to protect Gu Shui properly. Duan Mutian will send someone to pick me up later. I still have some important documents at the Duan family home, but once I go there, it might be hard to get away. Besides, at the banquet, the Duan family is definitely going to pull something. As I was pondering how to escape, I suddenly thought of my darling. Right, I can just have Gu Shui come pick me up. Before long, the Duan family's people indeed arrived. Unlike my past life, this time, Duan Mutian came in person. Afraid of drawing attention, he specifically waited at the back door. Duan Mutian wore a fake smile. "Let's go. A lot of directors and producers are waiting." I cursed myself inwardly. In my past life, I actually failed to see through his hypocritical true colors. There were many people at the banquet. I walked beside him, but my aura didn't weaken in the slightest. I narrowed my eyes. In my past life, I was locked up at home by Gu Shuyi at this time. After escaping later, I did indeed come to a banquet like this. Back then, I followed Duan Mutian's arrangements and drank that glass of wine. When I woke up the next day, I had plunged into a bunch of fabricated negative rumors. They were cold and dismissive, and just tossed me a negligible minor role. Ever since then, in some people's eyes, I became a rookie who could be easily suppressed and manipulated. President Lee wants to meet you. She has quite a bit of influence in the industry. Go have a chat with her. Dad's always looking out for you. I didn't tear off his hypocritical mask right then and there. The moment I took the wine glass, my guard instantly went up, knowing full well this glass hit a trap. Are you kidding me? Again? Can't you try some new tricks? I looked around at those watching the show and smiled faintly. I backhandedly passed the wine glass to Duan Mutian and picked up the tea next to it. Sorry, President Lee. I've taken cephalosporin, so I can't drink alcohol. My dad loves me the most, so let him drink this glass on my behalf. You're so generous, so you wouldn't mind, right? I raised my teacup. I'll substitute tea for wine, to toast you. Duan Mutian was getting a bit anxious. After all, everyone knew exactly what was added inside. What's wrong, Dad? Don't you love me the most? It's just a glass of wine. You wouldn't refuse, would you, Miss? Li's expression turned cold. Young Master Duan, you coming to this banquet? Is this your way of disrespecting me? Duan Mutian's face darkened. What's the big deal with just one glass of wine? I went through so much trouble to beg an opportunity for you. Don't upset President Lee. I pushed the wine glass back over. So what's the problem with letting you drink it? It turns out what you said about no one comparing to me, your own son, was a lie. Having the wine glass shoved into his hands, Duan Mutian gritted his teeth in anger. Huh. President Duan, this son of yours isn't very sensible. He'll have to reconsider our cooperation. Although President Lee said that, her eyes hid a determined, calculating gleam. I immediately pretended to be nervous and worried. Don't be like that, President Lee. You haven't seen my true capabilities yet. I can definitely bring you benefits. President Lee felt smug inwardly, but put on an arrogant front. Then will you drink it? I looked at the wine glass with difficulty, and nodded as if accepting my fate. Everyone was ready to watch the show unfold, but I walked over to the wine table, grabbed a freshly opened bottle of red wine, and poured myself a glass. My dad is holding the glass from earlier. It wouldn't be appropriate to take it back. Consider this glass my toast to you. After saying that, I downed it in one gulp. Duan Mutian was so angry he almost smashed his glass. I actually can't handle alcohol very well. Although I built up a tolerance in my past life, in this life, I barely touch a drop. I took a moment to glance at my phone. Gu Shuyi hadn't replied. She was probably busy. It seemed I had to stall for a little longer. Miss. Lee nodded in satisfaction. I noticed that the way President Lee looked at me wasn't quite right, and my heart instantly went on alert. I suspected there might be a trap in this wine as well. But just as she was about to touch me, the door to the room was suddenly pushed open forcefully. The woman's face carried deep displeasure and an overwhelming sense of oppression, rushing straight at us. The originally joyful atmosphere in the room suddenly fell silent for a moment. Everyone silently looked at the newcomer in unison. Their hearts were instantly filled with shock. It was actually President Gu. Even though they had indeed sent Gu Shuyi an invitation beforehand, they never expected that the untouchable President Gu would actually show up. President Lee immediately went over to greet her with a wine glass in hand, saying with trepidation, "If I had known. We are so honored by CEO Gus' presence. We really should have decorated this place better." He secretly gave himself a mental slap in the face. Such a great opportunity to suck up to her, and I just let it slip by. Someone next to him laughed dryly. I really didn't expect that CEO Gu would take time out of her busy schedule to attend our dinner party. Gu Shuyi completely ignored them from start to finish. She looked around with a cold, aloof expression. Ah Chen was just messaging me, asking me to come over. Where is he? Uzad agreed. I'll punish myself with a drink. Miss. Lee naturally noticed this as well, and she raised her glass, downing it in one gulp. Please, take the seat of honor. Someone tactful led her right to the center, the most prominent seat in the room. Gu Shuyi drew everyone's gaze. The atmosphere of the banquet instantly dropped to freezing point. Someone confusedly whispered to the person next to them. Who is this woman? Keep your voice down. That's Gu Shuyi from the Gu family. Back then, she fell out with her family, ran away from home, and started from scratch. In just a few short years, she has grown so powerful that even the Gu family fears her. Yeah. I heard that when CEO Gu first started out, she faced a lot of suppression, but relying on her exceptional business acumen and compliant operations, she established a firm foothold. Now, everyone in the industry deeply respects her. Indeed, her capabilities are plain for all to see. Duan Mutian watched as the big shots around him all swarmed around a single woman. This woman's identity must be extraordinary. He immediately stepped forward enthusiastically with his wine glass. Hello. I am the CEO of the Duan Group. This is my first time meeting you. I've heard so much about you. Hearing this voice, Gu Shui instinctively turned her head to look. Her face, which had just been ignoring everyone, surprisingly revealed a faint smile. Duan Muqian felt a surge of joy in his heart. Gu Shui looked at the man in front of her. How could it be their first meeting? You were the one who schemed against Ah Chen at every turn, made him suffer so many grievances, and nearly ruined him. Gu Shui casually picked up the red wine bottle nearby. Duan Muqian stepped forward, feeling immensely pleased with himself. I really didn't expect this. To think this woman would single me out from the crowd. She has good taste. Director Li Yan proactively took the bottle and filled his glass. Duan Muqian raised his glass and downed it in one gulp. The people around them stepped forward one after another to exchange pleasantries. Gu Shui watched quietly, as Duan Muqian drank glass after glass to entertain them. Waves of discomfort churned in Duan Muqian's stomach. He reached out to rub his stomach. This feeling is really unbearable. Li Yan said in displeasure. What? Are you not going to give CEO Gu face? Duan Muqian had no other choice. He felt like his entire stomach was filled with the stench of alcohol. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, he caught sight of me standing to the side, enjoying the show. I was standing there holding a cup of tea, calmly and leisurely watching my woman. Gu Shui, she is simply too cool. Truly worthy of being the woman I have my eyes on. Ah Chen, come over and introduce yourself. CEO Gu. Duan Muqian's posture clearly showed he wanted to redirect the trouble to me. I wasn't afraid at all, walking over with a bright smile. CEO Gu, this is my son. You two look to be about the same age. Why don't you talk and get to know each other? People of the same age might have more to talk about. Duan Muqian smiled from the side, then uncontrollably let out a drunken burp. I can use this opportunity to let Duan Chen know that I genuinely care about him. CEO Gu, I'm not in good health, so I can't drink with you. I see my dad still has plenty of energy right now, so why not let him continue drinking with you? I didn't hesitate to embarrass my own woman in public. The people around gasped in shock. This kid really is completely fearless. Does he even know who he just rejected? Yet the woman just turned her head and glanced at me. Then she slowly nodded. She actually agreed? A flash of anger crossed Duan Muqian's eyes. No way. If I keep drinking like this, I'm going to end up in the hospital soon. Duan Muqian's face showed a hint of struggle. The woman didn't say a word. Her pale fingers gently traced the wine glass, just holding it and playing with it. The atmosphere instantly grew oppressive. Gu Shui sat lazily in her chair, looking at me as I smiled recklessly. She was momentarily stunned. Wait. Why isn't Chen angry? In our past life, he argued with me a lot because of his dad. I was feeling incredibly satisfied right now, but as I turned my head, my heart suddenly skipped a beat. Oh no, this is bad. Will my Shui think I'm unfilial? Should I pretend to be a good son right now, and go up to show some concern? Gu Shui quickly looked away. Seeing Duan Muqian hesitate without making a move, Gu Shui spoke up. Since you can't drink anymore, then just finish the glass on your table. Duan Muqian stared at Gu Shui in disbelief, then turned to look at the equally shocked Li Yan. She knows everything. Gu Shui ignored their silent exchange of glances. Unable to withstand the pressure, Duan Muqian drank the glass of wine. How boring. She raised her hand to look at her fingers, and casually said, You don't actually think you were being discreet, do you? Sensing something was wrong, I rushed forward and reached out to support her. I'm sorry. My dad has caused you trouble. I hope you won't hold it against him. Has getting old and doesn't know any better. Gu Shui watched me approach with a smile. Has she taken a liking to this young man? I felt the wine I drank earlier rushing to my head, making me a little dizzy. She naturally caught me to support my weight, gently saying, Chen, you should know better, right? Then come with me. Duan Muqian's mind was in absolute turmoil. When did this cheap adopted son manage to hook up with Gu Shui? Li Yan's face instantly went pale. What should I do? I actually tried to take advantage of President Gus Man just now. Is she going to get back at me? Gu Shui walked toward the door, never glancing at anyone at the banquet from start to finish. She left behind a crowd of dumbfounded onlookers. They thought they would see me get humiliated in public, but unexpectedly, Miss Gu just walked away like that. Just as Gu Shui reached the doorway, she suddenly stopped in her tracks, turned around, and looked at me still standing in the hall. With a sweet smile, she called out, Chen, hurry over here, right away. I eagerly trotted after her, looking quite happy about it. Seeing this scene, the crowd around us sighed. Whose foolish son is this? Hez still so happy when death is right at his door. I was forcefully shoved into the passenger seat by her, and then she directly sealed my lips with a kiss. What is she doing? A surprise attack? I hastily pulled back a little, and shifted my gaze out the window. When Gu Shui turned her head, she saw my sharp jawline. Chen, you are not allowed to attend this kind of drinking banquet again. Gu Shui gave me an order in a negotiating tone, gently pursing her red lips. Chen, you drank. Gu Shui's expression instantly darkened. She slammed the gas pedal to the floor. The alcohol is hitting me. I felt extremely groggy and lightheaded. Gu Shui keenly noticed my condition and slowed the car down. She drove as steadily as possible, openly staring at me. With a sweet smile on her face, I squinted and peeked at her. Was she captivated by my handsome looks? Under her burning gaze, I started pretending to be drunk, groaning and complaining. It's so hot, ma. Ah Chen, do you know what you look like right now? Gu Shuyi asked, gently pursing her lips. While speaking, she didn't forget to turn on the AC. I turned my head and looked at her in confusion. Flirting without even realizing it, Gu Shuyi muttered to herself. On the surface, I still looked puzzled, but deep down I was overjoyed. No, I'm not. I shook my head. My head felt even dizzier. Gu Shuyi pulled the car over, slowly leaned closer to me, and said, Do you know how badly I wanted to just snatch you home earlier? I suddenly asked an inappropriate question. Why did you treat my dad like that just now? Ah Chen doesn't know about his past life. He also doesn't know what the father he respects will ultimately do to destroy him. Should I try talking to him about it now? Gu Shuyi suddenly went silent. The atmosphere in the car shifted from flirty to dead silent. Thinking of this, Gu Shuyi spoke up. Ah Chen, do you know? I looked into some things today. Gu Shuyi didn't answer my question, but instead slowly brought up something else. I looked at her, confused. Silly, all those rumor mongers and their fake news have been completely cleared up. My Ah Chen is so kind-hearted. Wanna guess who was trying to hurt you? I shook my head, like a good, cute big puppy. The person trying to hurt you is Duan Mutian. Gu Shuyi slowly whispered the truth into my ear. How is that possible? I don't believe it. You must be lying to me. My dad treats me so well. Why would he hire people to hurt me? I shook my head frantically, veins popping on my hands as I gripped the seatbelt. Then I reached out and pushed the woman away from me. As expected of me, such great acting. I silently praised myself in my mind. Gu Shuyi didn't expect me to believe her right away. She was just giving me a heads up. She kissed me affectionately. I sat in my seat, pretending to be a pitiful, abandoned puppy. I knew Gu Shuyi had no reason to lie to me. I hadn't spent much time with Duan Mutian anyway. It was only a few years in total. Gu Shuyi's words planted a seed of doubt in my heart. Sitting in the passenger seat, I whispered softly, No way. My dad wouldn't do this. He's my only family in this world. Gu Shuyi reached out and patted my head, comforting me. Be good, Ah Chen. You still have me. I looked at her cautiously. Really? The smile on Gu Shuyi's lips grew even brighter. Of course it's true. No matter what happens in the future, I will always be by your side. Will you abandon me? I grabbed her hand tightly, looking up eagerly, waiting for her answer. Gu Shuyi looked at me with curved, smiling eyes. Of course not. But it all depends on your behavior. I definitely won't let you down. I nodded eagerly, then held her small hand and kissed it. Then I continued with a disappointed tone. It seems I only have you now. Gu Shuyi patted. She patted my hand to comfort me, and only then did she start the car again. Gu Shuyi's eyes were filled with satisfaction. My Ah Chen, you can only be mine in this life. I sat there quietly, feeling very satisfied with my acting. My Shuyi is so easy to coax. But soon enough, I couldn't laugh anymore. The woman sped all the way home and dragged me straight to the bedroom. Fast forward to the next morning, I was woken up by my phone ringing. I glanced down at the caller ID. Oh? Isn't this my so-called dad? After drinking that spiked wine yesterday, he still has the energy to call me today. I felt a bit disappointed. A voice called out Ah Chen from the other end, sounding full of anxiety. Yeah? I replied lazily. Duan Mutian spoke up with fake concern. Why does this kid sound so relaxed? What exactly happened between those two? Where are you right now, miss? Gu didn't do anything to you, did she? Listening to this hypocritical concern made me sick. I pretended to be deeply moved. I didn't expect, Dad, that you'd care about me this much. She didn't make things difficult for me yesterday. She just gave me a business card and told me to visit her mansion to keep her company in a few days. Then she just dumped me on the side of the road. The reason I said this was to tell him, you'd better give up on trying to lock me up in the Duan family. Duan Mutian rubbed his aching stomach, feeling somewhat in disbelief. I ended up like this, yet this kid is completely fine. Did she really not make things difficult for you? No, she treated me pretty well, except a waiter told her someone spiked the drinks. Dad, do you know anything about this? I asked in a casual, flippant tone. Duan Mutian's heart skipped a beat, and he stuttered. What drinks? What do you mean? I have no idea. Didn't Li Yan swear that no one would find out? What is going on? How did someone see it? That useless woman. What if Gu Shuyi looks at my adopted son and finds out someone else and I drug Duan Chen? That would be disastrous. As Duan Mutian thought this, cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Did she say who it was? I asked in a confused tone. No. After she said that, she just dumped me on the side of the road. As if trying to distance himself from the matter, Duan Mutian simply dropped as long as you're fine, and hung up the phone immediately. I looked at the disconnected call, in a great mood. I leisurely got out of bed to wash up, feeling a little regretful inside. My Shui's bed is so big and soft, I would never get tired of sleeping on it every day. Sigh, what a pity. We haven't gone public with our relationship yet, so it's inconvenient to stay here long term. After washing up, I walked to the living room. The housekeeper stopped me. On his tray was plain congee and hangover soup. Mr. Duan, the eldest miss, ordered us to make this, the housekeeper said from the side. I was just planning to go out for breakfast. My gushui is so thoughtful. Since I drank yesterday, my stomach isn't feeling too well. But there was a hint of confusion in my eyes. Does gushui know I have a bad stomach? Shouldn't a normal breakfast have buns and side dishes? Why is it just simple plain congee? The housekeeper looked at me, hesitating a bit, before thoughtfully reminding me, rest assured, Mr. Duan, both the plain congee and hangover soup are. The miss specially ordered the kitchen to brew this fresh. Hearing this, my hand holding the hangover soup paused. This housekeeper sure is dutiful. I quickly drank it all up. After all, I still have work to deal with. I walked straight to the door. The driver respectfully opened the car door. The miss is busy with work today. She told me to let you know. She can't drop you off at work. She hopes you'll understand. The driver subtly relayed her message, carrying a hint of disdain in his heart. Isn't the miss loving this man a little too much? I've never seen the CEO treat anyone like this. And with such a humble attitude too. She's busy with work herself, doesn't have time to drop him off, and still has to apologize. The car seat's massage function completely relaxed me. I nodded in contentment. I opened my phone, found her contact, took a picture of myself sitting properly in the car, and sent it over. Up. It's another day of working hard. The person on the other end replied very quickly. Message me if you get tired. I'll come pick you up. Between the lines, it gave off a domineering yet doting little wife vibe. It made me feel like going to work was just a way to experience life. Satisfied, I sent an okay sticker and went to the company in a great mood. Fu Yexing had been in the office early on, waiting anxiously. Today, the company unilaterally pressured him, saying that if he couldn't produce an artist with good results soon, he would have to take all the artists under his name and pack up and leave. Fu Yexing thought it over and over. The other few were indeed totally mediocre. Looking around, the only one he could count on now was surprisingly just Duan Chen. Thinking of my utterly stubborn attitude, Fu Yexing rubbed his temples with a headache. God bless. Please let the audition for Linghai end quickly, so Duan Chen can finally give up on that idea and calm down to work properly. Fu Yexing was restless, pacing around and sitting back down. Just then, he heard someone talking outside the door. How did the talk with old Dai go yesterday? Was she satisfied with you? Did she assign a role to you? The person speaking was Tang Feiyu, who joined the company around the same time as Fu Yexing. Tang Feiyu was clearly also a newcomer, yet he had already raised an artist with a little fame. Fu Yexing knew in his heart that the entertainment industry has always been fiercely competitive. If a newcomer wanted to get a role, they either had to rely on solid professional skills and accumulated connections, or take some unconventional shortcuts. Any artist in the company with even a little fame had a backer or family supporting them behind the scenes. Fu Yexing rubbed his chin in distress. Realizing the dirty thoughts that had just crossed his mind, he fiercely scolded himself. Fu Yexing, you can't just ruin Duan Chen's future for the sake of your own benefits. Ah Chen is going to be a star, who is truly worthy of being loved. It better go see if any crew still needs actors. But after asking around and returning to the office, he saw me slouching carelessly on the sofa, playing with my phone. Just as he sat down beside me, Tang Feiyu coincidentally pushed the door open and came in. Seeing the two of us sitting there blankly, he laughed unceremoniously, his tone full of extreme sarcasm. Tell me, why is the gap between people so big? We're clearly classmates from the same school, yet a poor student like me has already delivered results, while a certain star student, what's going on? Why haven't I even seen a single splash from him? Fu Yexing clenched his fists, but he couldn't refute it. He lowered his head again. See? The gap between a good student and a bad one is already showing. A good student would never get cocky over such a tiny achievement, let alone act so arrogant and domineering in front of others. I slowly placed the teacup in my hand on the table, praising myself in my head. I really am a clever little genius. I know how to stay healthy and how to roast people. Fu Yexing looked troubled. He really wanted to shut Duan Chen's blabbering mouth. Is Tang Feiyu someone we can afford to offend right now? If the company has to make a choice later, well, definitely be the first ones kicked out. That's because he has the capital to show off. Tang Feiyu shot me a look full of sarcasm, then turned his head to look at Fu Yexing. The good student who used to be so high and mighty is now acting all submissive in front of me. Feels great. Don't celebrate too early. 30 years east of the river. The tides of fortune are always turning. Maybe it won't be long before those things you're showing off will be completely worthless in others' eyes. I let out a yawn, slowly putting down my phone. Displayed on the screen was a novel interface being scrolled through. Then I'll just have to wait and see. An agent whose artists are all a bunch of disappointments. What dazzling results can he possibly achieve? Tang Feiyu looked a bit awful, seeing how I didn't care at all. He continued, my artists are so dull. All they do day in and day out is study their acting skills and the trends of the entertainment industry. Unlike the artists trained by a certain someone, who still have the time to read novels right now, Fu Yexing couldn't hold back anymore either and threw out a cold, sarcastic remark from the side. Whether they're really studying acting or not, I think you know very well in your own heart. Tang Feiyu let out a cold snort, then turned around and slammed the door as he left. Isn't he just relying on capital backing? Fu Yexing cursed at his departing back. If they ever terminate their cooperation one day, won't he just be a stray dog on the street? He said this while turning his head to sincerely advise me. Duan Chen, it's a good thing you didn't fall into his hands. Otherwise, he would definitely take you to do some shady business. You'd better stand up for yourself and work hard to polish your projects. Otherwise, it'll be hard to get good resources. Of course, the second half of Fu Yexing's sentence was a joke, but as he was speaking, the smile on his face suddenly stiffened. I was sitting on the sofa with my legs crossed, looking down at the novel in my hand. There was a faint red mark on my neck that I accidentally got yesterday. Fu Yexing gasped in shock. Duan Chen, tell me the truth right now. What is going on here? Don't tell me you've gotten involved with someone recently. You better confess. What's this all about? The hand pointing at my neck slowly dropped. How is that possible? I shook my head, but didn't stop reading my novel. Don't you try to fool me. With those marks on your body. Fu Yexing had a look of I haven't read much, so don't lie to me on his face. I let out a helpless sigh. I really didn't do it for just one role. I went for a whole bunch of roles, and for that woman's sincere love. Looking at Fu Yexing, acting like his brain had crashed, and completely unable to process it, I continued. Instead of hitting walls everywhere and waiting for slim chances, it's better to find a platform that truly recognizes my strength. Start by gaining a firm foothold, and then take it step by step. Fu Yexing reached out to grab the table beside him, feeling a bit unsteady on his feet. Duan Chen, you fool. Tell me who that person is. Don't. Tell me. Is it the one whose trending topic couldn't be taken down? What kind of role could that person give you? My mouth twitched slightly. I spoke up to deny it. No. Do you think that person is worthy? Fu Yexing's expression kept changing. Is it an executive at our company? Fu Yexing guessed in his heart. Duan Chen usually didn't go anywhere. He knew very few people. Who could it be? I pondered for a moment. My Shuyi seems to have a little bit of cooperation with the company. Since they cooperate, she could also be considered an executive. So I nodded. Our manager? Fu Yexing asked tentatively. No, I denied it, and he guessed again. Then it's the general manager? I continued to deny it. No. Fu Yexing's expression had become a bit terrifying by now. It couldn't be the executive president, right? Executive president? None of them. I continued to shake my head. Fu Yexing's heart skipped a beat. Then is it the chief executive officer? Fu Yexing's expression was hard to describe right now. No. I thought about Gu Shui's position in the company. Don't tell me it's the company director. Fu Yexing's expression, compared to when he saw the marks on my body earlier, was even more shocked. I can't take it. I feel dizzy. A desk isn't enough for me anymore. Hurry up and get me a bed. I need to lie down. To hear this, I thought for a moment. The position of chairman, compared to my Shui's status, still seems to fall a tiny bit short, but there probably isn't a higher position, right? I reluctantly nodded. Fu Yexing's expression was all over the place. He said, his mouth twitching a bit. Ah Chen, you really don't make a move unless you're sure, but when you do, you shock everyone. For a moment, Fu Yexing didn't know whether to be happy or sad. He could only comfort himself in his heart as much as possible. Forget it, forget it. Since it's already like this anyway, at least the kid managed to cling to a big shot, and a very powerful one at that. I unhurriedly picked up my phone and started looking at it again. Just then, someone knocked on the door. The few people outside the door walked in. Brother Fu. I looked up at the newcomers. They looked a bit familiar. Fu Yexing was also a little surprised. He frowned slightly. Why aren't you guys training properly in the practice room? What are you doing here? These were the other artists under his management. The men spoke self-righteously. We came here today to talk to you about terminating our contracts. Fu Yexing suppressed the surprise in his heart. Fu Yexing suppressed his surprise. He said tactfully, there are still 3 years until your contracts expire. If you terminate them early, you'll have to pay a penalty fee. That penalty fee should be a significant amount for you. If an artist became incredibly popular, they naturally wouldn't need to worry about penalty fees. But these guys obviously had nothing to do with being popular. Not to mention they were rookies with no fanbase or talent to support them. Are you looking down on us? The man in the lead suddenly sneered. I frowned and said, Hez just looking out for you. This scene seems somewhat familiar. Supposedly, some third-rate company was poaching people everywhere. A lot of people were fooled at the time. Fortunately, my scandals had already been exposed back then. I was honored. That company didn't set their sights on me. Looking out for us? You are the least qualified person in this whole group to say that. Just look at you. The man in the lead let out a sarcastic laugh and looked at me with utter disdain. Sticking with a useless agent, I'd really like to see how far you can actually go. Who knows? By the time I become a top-tier star, you'll still be struggling as an 18th-tier nobody. Hearing this, Fu Yexing was a bit speechless. Listening to what he was saying, it sounded like the moment he left me, he was going to strike it rich, and immediately join the ranks of top-tier celebrities. What a pipe dream. I gave the artist a meaningful look. Whatever. Leave if you want to. No one is stopping you. As long as you pay the penalty for breach of contract, you can do whatever you want. The male artist sneered. It better be that way. I hope that when I get famous, you won't go around trying to leech off my popularity, and don't go telling the media and audience that we ever had anything to do with each other. After saying that, he slammed the agreement on the table. Seeing that they were determined to leave, Fu Yexing didn't bother trying to make them stay. He took the agreements and led them straight to the HR department. Then came the stamping, signing, and paying, all done in one go. Looking at the penalty amount, Fu Yexing frowned deeply. These guys had been with the company for so long, yet it seemed they hadn't made the company any real money. The company had wanted to fire them ages ago, but since they signed a contract, the company could only put up with them. Now that they were breaking the contract and paying the fine themselves, the company would definitely be thrilled. But with them gone, the company will probably just dump more rookies on me. After sending them off, Fu Yexing sat in his seat with a distressed look on his face. Nowadays, people who have talent and can make it big, people who have true talent and can thrive in this industry, are incredibly rare. If they shove more people onto me, they'll probably end up just like the ones who just left. Hearing him say that, I turned to look at Fu Yexing and asked him with full confidence, I have an idea. I don't know if you're willing to listen. Fu Yexing sat on the side, looking all ears. If you're willing to trust me, then from now on, I alone can guarantee you a bright and worry-free future. Fu Yexing scratched his head. But you have to be clear on one thing. I don't really have any impressive connections. The best I can do is try to gather as many resources for you as possible. That's also a major drawback for your career development. What Fu Yexing said wasn't wrong. After all, this was a normal practice in the company. Whenever someone achieved a little success, the company would assign them a more capable and talented agent to ensure the artist wouldn't make any mistakes in the future. But having experienced the trending search incident in my past life, I couldn't bring myself to trust anyone else in the company. I shook my head. Brother Fu, I'm just a rookie who knows nothing right now. Besides, I trust you. If you're willing, we can go draft a contract right now. Fu Yexing knew his own capabilities well. Very few people were willing to sign this kind of contract, unless the other person is truly a top-tier gold medal agent. Duan Chen's ambition is huge. Are my skills and tactics really enough to match his? But, no buts. I interrupted him directly. I'll just ask you one thing. Are you willing? Fu Yexing looked at my firm and serious expression, and nodded without hesitation. Then here's to our bright future. Deep down, Fu Yexing wasn't as decisive as he seemed. I never expected Duan Chen to trust me to this extent. I breathed a sigh of relief. Fu Yexing did have the capability. You could tell from the rankings and awards he won during his time at school. Moreover, Fu Yexing has qualities that other agents lack. He just isn't bold enough when handling problems. I suddenly remembered what happened in my past life, so I stood up and shook his hand. Here's to a happy cooperation. The two of us walked out to go draft the contract. Just as we reached the door, I met a pair of eyes looking right at me. I lowered my gaze and rubbed my nose, not saying a word. President Gu. Fu Yexing reacted quickly, shielding me behind him, and greeting her respectfully. There were quite a few company executives standing behind Gu Shui, following her with extreme humility. Gu Shui casually glanced at me, then walked away without hesitation. Fu Yexing watched her departing figure, and let out a sigh of relief. Phew. President Gu's presence is truly intimidating. His voice grew softer and softer, because he noticed the woman, who was about to turn the corner, suddenly turn her head and glance in our direction. My voice wasn't that loud. Fu Yexing wondered to himself. My mouth twitched. Why are you looking at me? Can't you give me a break even at the company? Fu Yexing, you go draft the contract first. I turned my head and spoke to him calmly. I'm going to the restroom. I'll be back in a bit. Then make it quick. Fu Yexing nodded, then turned and went upstairs to find a printer. Just as I passed by the emergency exit, a small hand pulled me inside. Hey, I knew my Gu Shui missed me. I made my expression look a bit panicked, and followed the force of her pull inside. Gu Shui reached out and gently held my wrist. My head was spinning. Someone might walk by outside. They want. Gu Shui didn't stop her movements. There's a group of executives standing by the corner. What kind of blind fool would walk this way? She leaned in and whispered to me. A moment later, she turned around, pushed the door open, and left. As soon as I walked out, I saw a few company executives waiting at the corner. For a moment, I didn't know if I should go over. Why did you come from over there? Hurry up and leave. Is this a place you should be loitering? It seemed news of President Gus's whereabouts had leaked, attracting the attention of people in the company. The eldest Miss Gu was highly sought after, and countless people wanted to cling to her. They probably thought this kid was one of them. Do you think President Gu has some personal matter to attend to? Could she be constipated? Otherwise, why hasn't she come out for so long? The executives were speaking at a moderate volume. I stumbled as I turned the corner, wondering if I had heard them wrong. I simply hid around the corner and eavesdropped. Why don't we call a doctor over? Is that really necessary? At this point, I was too embarrassed to keep listening. The aloof and mighty Gu Shuyi being misunderstood like this. It was hilarious. A few executives followed closely behind Gu Shuyi as she came out. The executives looked at her expression and thought, look at how much she's struggling. Ah, President Gu. You work so hard every day. I have some premium health-boosting tea at home. I'll prepare some for you later. One of the executives flattered her from the side. Gu Shuyi thought for a moment. Ah-Chen has been working really hard lately, and he stays up late often. Having some health tea to nourish his body wouldn't be a bad idea. Then I won't decline. As expected, this is what they call prescribing the right medicine. The executive instantly looked extremely flattered. Truly, people who have a way with words are just different. Look at that, just one sentence made President Gu so happy. The people around him looked at him, full of nothing but envy. I pushed the door open and returned to the office. Ah-Chen. Were there people you knew among those executives just now? Otherwise, why would you turn around and walk straight out? And for such a long time, too. Since we'll be working together from now on. I didn't try to hide anything. I nodded decisively. Fu Yexing gasped. The group of people who came today, aside from Miss Gu, the rest are all. Ah-Chen, it must have been hard on you. I had no idea what my agent was thinking. Regardless, I'm pretty happy right now. Fu Yexing looked at me, seeming to be in a good mood. Everything you're putting in now will one day be proportional to your success. Fu Yexing handed me the contract. He probably thought I would study it carefully, but he watched as I casually flipped through it, and with a stroke of my pen, I signed my name directly. Fu Yexing was shocked. Duan Chen, aren't you being a little too careless? Aren't you worried that there might be hidden clauses that are unfavorable to you? Of course not. Since you're willing to work with me, we're on the same team. I handed the contract back to him. That's for sure. Fu Yexing nodded. I looked at him. Now that it's signed, I'll read this for a bit. When the day of the audition comes, remember to sign me up. I waved my phone at him. Fu Yexing frowned slightly. Look at the time. Shouldn't you be studying your acting skills or something? Reading a novel seems like a waste of time, doesn't it? I shook my head. This book is Ling Hai. There are bound to be differences between the script and the novel. That's to be expected. I plan to read the original book first, to get a feel for the plot, and then combine it with the script when the time comes. I absent-mindedly scrolled through the interface on my phone. The author of this book is truly excellent. The world building and values are expressed perfectly, and the plot is impeccable. Fu Yexing, a beat too slow, nodded his head. He prepared to head out and scrape together some good scripts for me. It wasn't until he reached the door that he finally realized something. Wait a minute. I've been following Duan Chen's train of thought all day today. He always used to listen to me, but it seems Duan Chen has his own ideas now. I'm quite relieved. I sat there, feeling a bit bored as I read the novel. As someone who became a fast transmigrator after death and has experienced so many different worlds, the things I've encountered are far more bizarre than anything in a novel. To me, this book was indeed quite dull. I scrolled through my phone. Web novels these days seem a bit formulaic. The plots are mostly the same. Whenever a novel with a slightly more novel concept appears, it almost instantly becomes a massive hit. I calculated my current assets. Could I write something too? I casually opened my laptop, found a website online, typed up a manuscript, and uploaded it. Then I shut the laptop. At this time in my previous life, I would have been in the hospital, taking care of my father, who had ruined his stomach from drinking. Right. I still have things at the Duan family's place. I need to get them back. I simply snuck out of the company, flagged down a taxi, and headed to the hospital. Duan Mutian had always been big on ostentation. He stayed in the hospital's top-tier VIP ward, and he probably wished he could hire 10 caretakers to look after him. I knocked on the door, and pushed it right open. Ah Chin. You have no idea how worried I've been about you in the hospital. I was terrified that person would do something to you. The moment Duan Yuchen saw me walk in, he immediately put on a teary-eyed act. His anxious act actually looks pretty convincing. I stood at the door, smiling as I watched him act. Don't think I don't know. Just before I came in, he was talking a mile a minute, bragging to the caregiver. In my past life, I probably would have walked over and comforted him instead. Thinking of this, I put on a guilt-ridden expression and stepped forward. Dad, aren't I standing right here in front of you, safe and sound? Duan Mushin tried to read my face for clues, but all he could see was remorse. He patted my hand. I was just worried about you. Duan Mutian suddenly clutched his chest, coughing violently. He looked incredibly weak and pale. Looks like he has ruined his health with drinking. I immediately put on an extremely self-blaming look. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have come at this time and caused your condition to worsen. Saying that, I pulled out a bank card. Dad, I have some money here. Take it and buy some supplements. Duan Muchin relaxed. I knew this easy-to-manipulate adopted son couldn't have grown distant from me. Looks like he still doesn't know. Looking at the card in my hand, a flash of disdain crossed his eyes. He looked at me and said with a face full of emotion, "What are you talking about? Our family isn't short on money. The little bit of money you make at the company, you should keep it for yourself. There should be at least tens of thousands in this card, right? After all, since this brat started working, he hasn't given the family any money. He should have been able to save up a little." He originally wanted to hear the caregiver flatter him a bit and then smoothly accept the card. Instead, he saw me put on a look of sudden realization. That's true. Our Duan family is so wealthy. You probably wouldn't care for this little bit I have anyway. I sighed and directly stuffed the card back into my pocket. Then I'll just keep it. Duan Chen put on an utterly devastated expression. Duan Mushin looked completely dumbfounded. President Duan, I didn't expect your son to be so filial. Young Master Duan, there's no need to worry. President Duan will be discharged from the hospital very soon. The caregiver beside us was quite moved. Duan Mushin felt disgusted. He let out a dry laugh. Dad, I see there are plenty of people taking care of you. You probably don't need me here. Can I just go straight home tonight? I asked in a pleading tone. Duan Mushin's eyes flickered slightly. Of course you can. That's your home too. Go back whenever you want. When the time comes, it'll just have the bodyguards lock the doors and not let him out. I nodded happily, turned around, went downstairs, and took a cab back to the Duan family mansion. Looking at the magnificent mansion in front of me, with bodyguards and servants everywhere at the entrance, passers-by couldn't help but feel a sense of inferiority. But my heart remained completely unruffled. After all, I had even lived in imperial palaces while doing my missions. I pushed the door open casually and walked in. The servants at the door found it a bit strange. Oh? Did the sun rise from the west today? Where did our previously insecure little young master go? The housekeeper saw me and gave a slight nod, without the slightest trace of respect. He clearly didn't take me, the young master, seriously. The servants watched helplessly as the carefree me from just a moment ago suddenly became timid and dispirited. I just came back to grab something. I looked down at my toes, pretending to be cowardly. Of course you can. The housekeeper nodded. A servant behind him scoffed disdainfully. All bark and no bite. I thought he'd have grown a spine after being out for a few months, but he's still exactly the same. I walked into the house, and the housekeeper looked at me with even more contempt. If you don't need anything else, I'll go get to work now. Duan Dai still needs me to go over and take care of him. The housekeeper didn't wait for my answer, and just turned around. There's food in the fridge. If you're hungry, you can make something yourself. Hearing this, I shot the housekeeper a glance. How could there possibly be ingredients in the fridge? After all, the Duan family buys fresh groceries and cooks them every day. Just then, a chef walked out of the kitchen, carrying 2 plates with Australian lobster. Isn't my dad sick? How can he eat seafood? I narrowed my eyes, my gaze sweeping over the 2 plates. The housekeeper said to the chef, I have to go to the hospital today to take care of Duan Dai. You can keep these for yourself. The chef immediately agreed with a beaming smile. The dignified young master of the Duan family has to cook his own meals, while the chef gets to eat Australian lobster. And this was just the housekeeper's usual meal. When I was treated like this in my past life, what did Duan Wuqian say? Oh. He told me to just get used to it. Thinking about it carefully, Duan Wuqian must have wanted to suppress me right from the start. But at the end of the day, the housekeeper is just a servant. I'm still the young master of the Duan family. Did he really think I had no temper? I looked at the housekeeper, who was pushing his luck, and asked, who bought these ingredients? The chef froze when he heard this, but still dutifully answered from the side. I'm usually the one who buys the groceries. In other words, all these ingredients were paid for by the Duan family. The housekeeper frowned in annoyance. The chef realized he might have misspoken and fell silent. I walked over, looking at the 2 plates of Australian lobster. Since when did the housekeeper become a member of the Duan family? His meals are always paid for by the Duan family. Actually, I knew exactly what was going on. After all, I was locked up in the Duan house in my past life. The housekeeper liked to buy rare and expensive ingredients for no reason. I only eat it occasionally. The Duan family shouldn't mind. I've worked here for decades. Even though Hez the master's son, he hasn't been back for long. Has nothing to worry about. Oh, you're really something then. Eating something that costs thousands occasionally. That aside, as the young master of the Duan family, I actually have to cook my own meals. Anyone who didn't know better would think I was the servant. The housekeeper gets a chef to cook him Australian lobster, while I, the young master, boil instant noodles myself without even a side dish. At the very least, you could have saved me an egg. Holding the plates, the chef felt a chill down his spine. How about leaving this for the young master to eat? After all, we didn't know you were coming back today. If we had known, these definitely would have been saved for you. Meanwhile, the housekeeper stared unblinking at the rebellious me. Interesting. Leaving the stuff the housekeeper won't eat for me. You guys really think highly of me. I narrowed my eyes, stepped forward, and took the Australian lobster straight from his hands. Not only did the chef breathe a sigh of relief, he also secretly shook his tired wrists. Look at him, calling himself some young master. A trace of mockery flashed across the housekeeper's eyes, but in the end, isn't he still eating our leftovers? I gave them a look and whistled. A golden retriever came sprinting toward me. I placed the plate right on the ground, signaling the golden retriever to come eat. After I spoke, I bent down and patted the dog's head. You! The housekeeper's face darkened. I narrowed my eyes and looked over. What about me? No matter how you look at it, these things were bought with my Duan family's money. How it's handled, can't I, a young master of the Duan family, make the call? Since when is it a servant's turn to dictate things around here? What kind of young master are you? You were acting like a total coward when you walked in. Why the sudden change in temperament? This doesn't sound like something he would say. The housekeeper was furious. I propped my legs up on the coffee table, acting like I owned the place, and ordered, "Go prepare dinner for me. I'm hungry." My tone was casual and familiar. I'm someone who takes care of my health. Inadvertently, the slightly suggestive marks on my neck were fully exposed. The housekeeper's face suddenly darkened. Why is he so arrogant coming back today? Did he actually make a name for himself out there? Does he really think no one can control him anymore? In his dreams, who knows how long the person he latched onto outside will back him up. Once the novelty wears off, he'll still have to come crawling back. Humph. The chef stood there hesitantly, watching the housekeeper's expression. As long as the housekeeper didn't speak, he didn't dare to move either. Looks like I still need to ask my dad for permission. Can't I even boss around a servant in my own home? What are you spacing out for? Hurry up and do as the young master ordered. I picked up my phone and fiddled with it, feigning distress. If he complains about such a trivial matter, it'll definitely be the one getting scolded. I might as well just do what he wants. The housekeeper spoke with a dark expression. I put my phone away in satisfaction, and said in a rather punchable tone, "Wouldn't it have been easier to just do this earlier? Honestly. Wasting 10 cents of my mobile data. Remember to reimburse me later, housekeeper." The housekeeper's face grew even darker. I stood straight up and familiarly made my way back to the bedroom. In my past life, I never came back to live here at all, but I still remember where the room is. Second floor, by the window, great view. Warm in winter and cool in summer. The well-ventilated and dry one. I pushed the door open and entered. There were obvious signs that someone had been living in the room. Premium sofa, projector, antique ornaments, solid wood bed. Wow. My room. Father really put a lot of thought into this, didn't he? I walked in, feigning pleasant surprise, looked at the antique vase displayed on the cabinet, picked it up to play with it, and said, "This vase is really nice." Then I casually set it aside. The housekeeper followed me in. When he saw me pick up that priceless jade pendant, he instantly panicked. "Ah, young master, you can't touch that. President Duan usually treats these antiques like the apple of his eye. If they get even a little scratched, he'll definitely fly into a rage." I turned around in confusion. "You mean this?" The housekeeper strode right over, ready to reach out and snatch it away. In his frantic rush, he didn't notice and bumped into the edge of the table. The vase I had casually set down fell to the floor and shattered instantly. The housekeeper looked back in sheer disbelief. I casually put the jade pendant back in its original place and said with a face full of regret, "What a pity. Such a beautiful vase, shattered just like that. Housekeeper, you're way too careless." Cold sweat poured down the housekeeper's back. This vase was the most valuable thing in the entire room. The very same vase President Duan would show off to guests every time. And just like that, it was smashed to pieces by me. "You can't blame me for this. If you hadn't been messing with things, the vase wouldn't have broken." The housekeeper panicked. After all, he was also afraid of taking the blame. That's a bit of a strange thing to say. This is my room. The things inside are naturally mine. Is it wrong for me to touch my own things? I looked completely bewildered. I casually picked up a jade ring and twirled it around my finger. Besides, you could have just told me at the door not to touch them. You came running over and smashed the vase yourself, and now you're blaming it on me. I let out a chuckle, completely washing my hands of the matter. The housekeeper felt his heart bleeding. I casually glanced around and frowned, saying, "Why does it look like my room has been lived in by someone else? Could it be you? After all, you even have the chef at your disposal, and they don't even listen to me. I suppose it wouldn't be impossible for you to live here." The housekeeper completely panicked. Duan Shen has such a sharp tongue. If Mr. Duan actually believes what he said, if President Duan really believes what he said, it'll be in serious trouble. Sigh. I was originally planning to stay here tonight, but looking at the situation, I guess there's no place for me here. It'd better just take my things to the company apartment. I scanned the room with a look of disgust, suppressing the displeasure in my heart. Where are my things? This is my room, but my things aren't here. I walked up and patted the housekeeper on the shoulder. "Why are you zoning out? Spacing out isn't allowed during work hours. This young master is asking you a question. Where are my things?" "In the guest room." The housekeeper felt threatened and struggled to force the words out. I let out a low chuckle. "My room. My things were thrown into the guest room. It seems that from the very beginning, the Duan family never treated me as part of the family. The housekeeper looked at my commanding presence, and for a moment, he froze in place, wearing a look of absolute heartbreak. I made my way familiarly to the guest room. I found my belongings, packed them into my bag, and prepared to leave right away. The housekeeper finally remembered his task. "Young master, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. This has absolutely nothing to do with President Duan. A simple apology won't make up for the harm you've done to me." The housekeeper was certainly flexible enough to know when to bend. One second, he was burdened with a debt worth over $1 million because of me, and the next second, he could still speak to me this calmly. "I am entirely at your disposal, young master." The housekeeper hurriedly ordered the security guards to block the courtyard gate, temporarily preventing me from leaving alone. I wasn't in a hurry. My phone was still on me. Anyway, I put on an act and walked over to the door, looked at the circle of burly bodyguards and smiled. "Housekeeper, you're being a bit unreasonable here. Having so many people block my way. What's the meaning of this?" I turned to look at the housekeeper. "Oh. Hey, young master, you know, I'm just a servant." The housekeeper was secretly hoping that when President Duan returned, seeing how dutifully I carried out my job, he might just exempt me from punishment entirely. I didn't act the way everyone imagined I would. Instead of panicking, I took out my phone, made a call, and even put it on speaker. "Sorry, the number you dialed is powered off." The arrogant and carefree smile on my face gradually faded, followed by me looking around helplessly. This idiot. Don't tell me he still thinks he can beg his dad for help. President Duan doesn't have the time to deal with him right now. After all, locking him in here was all President Duan's idea. The housekeeper revealed a smug look. I looked at the housekeeper pleadingly. "I just won't tell my dad about this. When the time comes, it'll say Big Yellow did it. There are still things to handle at the company. Can you guys step aside and let me out?" Big Yellow was that golden retriever. Terrified that my acting wouldn't be convincing enough, I pinched my thigh hard. Well, that did it. The tears almost fell. "Sorry, young master. To prevent you from causing any more trouble during this time, please move to the guest room and rest." The housekeeper motioned for the bodyguards to step forward. Looking incredibly smug, I dialed the number again, intentionally keeping the speakerphone off this time. The call connected quickly. My voice sounded utterly helpless. "Didn't you say last time that we should grab a drink together? Come pick me up from my house. I'll drink with you." Gu Shuyi pursed her lips slightly. "Okay, then." She hung up immediately. I stood up, my footsteps almost radiating joy. Then, I was escorted back to that all-too-familiar guest room. A gold chain had somehow been cuffed to my ankle, feeling quite heavy. Suddenly, I found myself a bit ridiculous. Even though things were following the exact same track as my past life, I somehow felt much more at ease this time around. It must be because Gu Shui is here. The housekeeper watched my seemingly resigned expression, scoffed coldly, and directly deadbolted the guest room door from the outside. I leisurely dug out a few bags of snacks from my bag, and munched on them happily. I hadn't had any of these snacks since I was reborn. They were actually pretty good. No, they were actually pretty delicious. In my past life, my stomach had always been fragile, and the doctor warned me to strictly avoid these. Still, I should probably eat less of this junk. A hint of regret flashed through my eyes, as I took the time to carefully inspect the guest room. Great, invited back into this familiar room again. Though this bag isn't nearly as exquisite as the one Mai Shui prepared, my mouth twitched at the thought. Trapped again. Good thing someone's coming to rescue me this time. I sighed with a touch of melancholy, then suddenly heard the sound of synchronized footsteps outside. I quietly shoved all the snacks under the bed, ready to play the part of a pitiful, vulnerable damsel in distress. Just as the housekeeper was about to call Duan Mutian to report the situation, he heard a commotion at the entrance, and hurried over immediately. A massive crowd of imposing bodyguards flanked a woman as she walked in. The clicking of her high heels against the floor exuded an invisible, suffocating pressure. At first glance, the housekeeper knew she meant trouble. "And you are?" Gu Shui came to a halt. A bodyguard behind her took a step forward, his presence intimidating, resting a hand on his waist as he glared at the housekeeper. "Where is he?" The housekeeper froze. Where is who? Who in the Duan family had provoked such a big shot? Don't point that at me. I'm just a housekeeper who gets paid to do a job. The surrounding servants didn't dare step forward. If they got dragged into this mess, it absolutely wouldn't be worth it. After all, that intimidating aura screamed danger. Gu Shui ignored the housekeeper and walked straight into the living room, not seeing me anywhere. Her displeasure grew increasingly evident. Just then, the sound of pounding on a door came from somewhere, accompanied by a panicked male voice. "Gu Shui, is that you?" Gu Shui followed the sound and walked over. The housekeeper, completely suppressed by her aura, was forced to trail behind. Hearing her footsteps approaching, I deliberately rattled the chain on my ankle. "Gu Shui, did you come to save me?" "It's me." "Step back, Ah Chen. Stay away from the door." I immediately did as told. "Okay." A bodyguard stepped up and forced the door open with tools. "Aren't you afraid of the Duan family's retaliation?" Hearing this, Gu Shui let out a cold laugh. What you're saying is really interesting. Wasn't Ah Chen the one innocently placed under house arrest? He looked at me trapped inside the room. A flash of coldness appeared in his eyes. Other than me, no one is allowed to bully Ah Chen like this. The housekeeper couldn't snap out of his shock for a long time. The woman in front of him felt like an immense threat. Does this woman have a death wish? I was a little scared of what crazy things Gu Shuyi might do. No way. I'm a law-abiding, upstanding citizen. My Shuyi has to be just like me. Gu Shuyi. I called out softly. Gu Shuyi snapped out of it and walked in, looking at my disheveled state. This can't be opened. I started lying through my teeth. During my missions, I actually studied these kinds of restraints, let alone picking this lock. I could easily build one from scratch. But hey, don't I have to give my Shuyi a chance to play the beauty saving the hero? The bodyguards behind her were very observant. They dragged the housekeeper forward to open it. The housekeeper shook his head in terror. The key. The key isn't with me. I can't open it. If all else fails, try using brute force to pry it open. I'm not a strong man. There's no way I can pry this open. Gu Shuyi turned to look at me. The lingering cold sneer in her eyes sent a chill down my spine. Was I being a little too overbearing? I feel like Ah Chen is a bit scared of me. Ah Chen, come here. Gu Shuyi thought to herself. I obediently walked over to her side. Ah Chen, I might have been too anxious today. I shouldn't have been so impulsive. But seeing you trapped like this, I really couldn't stay calm. I'm usually such a good girl. Is this still the all-powerful eldest lady of the Gu family? I pretended to be confused and nodded. Shuyi is the sweetest. I've always known that. The bodyguards exchanged glances with each other. Where did he get the idea that she's a sweet girl? Gu Shuyi nodded happily. I grinned at her. I know you're doing all this for my own good, Shuyi. The bodyguards looked at our dynamic with bizarre expressions. Excuse me, but seriously, which one of them is the crazy one here? I looked down at my feet and whistled. Da Huang came trotting over from the living room, circling around me. I smiled and patted his head, then pointed to my feet. Da Huang immediately opened his mouth and chewed off the restraints. Then he looked at the straps on the ground in confusion. The dog's little head was filled with big questions. Why does this look so much like my leash? Is this guy a pet in the house too? You're free now. I looked at Gu Shuyi with a smug expression. Gu Shuyi smiled brightly and wrapped her arms around my waist. The bodyguard driving even thoughtfully rolled up the privacy partition. Gu Shuyi let out a soft sigh. Ah Chen, why did you go back to the Duan family? Sitting beside her, my eyes darkened. I still had some things at the Duan house that I needed to pack. Let me tell you, the housekeeper there is so awful. He made me cook instant noodles for dinner, while he treated himself to Australian lobster. Then he even locked me up. I initially didn't want the Duan family to find out about our relationship. I was afraid it would bring you trouble. I looked utterly disheartened, making it seem like every word I said was out of consideration for her. As long as it concerns you, it's never a trouble. They were the ones who illegally detained you in the first place. That's against the law, Gu Shuyi said nonchalantly. I knew what she was thinking. I quickly said, it's fine. With you protecting me, I won't let them get to me. You shouldn't do anything about it either. It'd be bad for your reputation. I reached out and covered her hand, then intertwined our fingers. Let's just stay happily together like this. Gu Shuyi looked at our clasped hands, her eyes curving into a smile. Ah Chen is such a big liar. You clearly weren't scared at all earlier, yet you put on a panicked act just for me. You didn't even wipe the snack crumbs from the corner of your mouth, you bad boy. You just wanted to make my heart ache for you, but what can I do? I'm just so helplessly in love with him. Gu Shuyi reached out with feigned fierceness and wiped the crumbs from the corner of my mouth. My world used to be so cold and desolate. It wasn't until I met Ah Chen that I finally found light. I looked at her in confusion. Huh? Did I say something wrong just now? The car arrived back at the Gu mansion. I was sitting at the dining table, having just finished my meal. When I turned my head, I saw the woman standing behind me in her nightgown. I gulped. I need to use the restroom. Are you trying to run away? Ah Chen. No, of course not. Heh, good. I did you such a huge favor today. You really should thank me properly. The sky grew completely dark. There was no one beside me anymore. Gu Shuyi was very busy with work. After all, she had to support such a massive company all by herself, so she hadn't slept for long. Before heading straight back to the office to handle her work, I leisurely opened the wardrobe, found a set of black clothes, and quietly slipped out through the window. I avoided the patrols and quietly made my way back to the Duan family mansion, gently tapping on the window of the housekeeper's bedroom. The housekeeper jolted awake instantly. A wave of pure terror washed over him. I smiled and waved at him. Who is it? What do you want? I looked at him nonchalantly. I was just thinking, how do I ensure that what happened today doesn't get out? The housekeeper immediately understood what I meant. Young master, don't worry. I promise I won't breathe a word of it. Please, I beg you, just let me go. I found the housekeeper's begging rather comical and burst into laughter. I narrowed my eyes slightly, looking down at the housekeeper on the bed. Housekeeper Lee, you really look quite pathetic right now. I couldn't help but recall my past life. When I was hospitalized with cancer, this very housekeeper would bring me leftovers. He even went as far as throwing the leftovers away rather than letting me eat. His words back then were exactly the same. The housekeeper trembled violently. Young master, I had absolutely nothing to do with this matter. I was just following orders, that's all. Every wrong has its cause, and every debt has its debtor. I raised an eyebrow. Housekeeper Lee, I believe that in this world, only. I looked at the terrified housekeeper and continued. But don't panic. How could someone as kind-hearted as me ever kill you? Don't you agree? I let out a sigh and swiftly grabbed his wrist. The housekeeper's body instantly went numb, rendering him completely paralyzed. His phone slipped from his hand and fell to the floor. Housekeeper Lee struggled desperately and cried out, Young master, please spare me. I'll tell you who put me up to this. I raised a finger and wagged it. No, no, no. As for the mastermind behind this, I'll investigate it myself. And to keep you from interfering, sorry about this. I smiled and patted his shoulder. Just stay in the hospital for a while. You can keep my old man company. I jumped straight out the window, wondering where I should go next. I thought about checking out my Shui's company. I felt like it'd never been there before. From the dark alley next to me, a panicked male voice rang out. What do you want? I stopped in my tracks and doubled back. The voice of what sounded like a kidnapper could be heard. Someone paid a heavy price to have you dealt with. Oh ho? A heavy price? My eyes lit up as I walked into the alley. Even though my stamina was a bit lacking right now, dealing with a few ordinary thugs would still be a piece of cake. The man facing me suddenly got a gleam in his eye. Help me, brother. Someone's after me. Please, help me call the cops. The kidnapper turned around and warned me. Hey, you better mind your own business, kid. Unless you want to lose your life without knowing how. Taking the chance, the man secretly backed up a few steps, looking like he wanted to make a run for it. Looking at the hulking men in front of me, I sensibly stepped aside. Don't worry. I've never been one to stick my nose where it doesn't belong. I've just never seen much of the world, so I came in to take a look. Humph. One of the thugs sneered. The hostage's expression turned ugly. Why did it have to be some bystander just here for the show? I suddenly found the man's face a bit familiar. So this was the face that was worth a heavy price. The man spoke up to stall for time. At least let me die knowing why. Can you tell me? Who wants to hurt me? I watched the scene with interest. It doesn't hurt to tell you. You offended the eldest Miss Gu. Huh. This drama actually involved my own family. I took a closer look at the man. He looked pretty average. Not as handsome as me. I went from just enjoying the show to being shocked. He didn't look like anyone famous, either. Why would Gu Shui have a conflict with a guy like this? I felt a bit annoyed. Why were so many people throwing dirt on my Shui? When did I ever provoke the eldest Miss Gu? You'll have to ask yourself that. Who doesn't know I work for President Gu? The thug couldn't be bothered to waste any more words on him. He motioned for his lackeys to make their move. But my reflexes were faster than theirs. I flicked a small stone, and a man dropped straight to one knee. The head thug turned his head with an ugly expression to glare at me. I leaned against the wall next to me, tossing another stone in my hand. Seeing the thug turn his head, I flicked my wrist. The stone hit him. His grip loosened, and whatever he was holding dropped to the ground. The hostage immediately made a run for it, but was instantly surrounded by the remaining men. Get him! I thought this kid looked weak and frail, so I didn't take him seriously. Who knew he was actually trying to play the hero? I nonchalantly watched the thug walking towards me. The boss threw a punch at me. I pulled out the paralyzing spray I kept on me, and quickly subdued the thugs. Their legs gave out, and they collapsed to the ground one by one. The thugs looked at their own bodies in horror. Boss, my whole body is numb. I can't move, I sighed. Back in my fast transmigration days, I learned a lot of skills. My self-defense techniques were flawless, and I also knew a bit about pressure points. I checked the time. It was getting late. Would I be bothering my Shuyi? I decided right then to wrap this up quickly. Only then did the boss realize something was wrong. Watching helplessly as his underlings fell to the ground, the hostage was overjoyed. Brother, I didn't expect you to have such skills. Why didn't you make a move right away? I was scared half to death. Thanks for saving me, brother. The man let out an instant sigh of relief, then walked toward me completely off guard. Hello, my name is Wang Cage. I had just walked out of my dad's company when I was grabbed by these guys. Wang Cage viciously kicked a kidnapper on the ground. Suddenly, he noticed the guy's eyes were wide open. Terrified, he jumped to the side, accidentally stepping on another guy's hand. The other man's eyes nearly bugged out from the pain. Wang Cage waved his hands. My bad, my bad. I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't mean to. Wait, why am I even apologizing? I just stood there, watching him quietly. I picked up a baseball bat from the ground and gently tapped Wang Cage on the shoulder. Wang Cage felt pitiful, weak, and helpless. His savior was turning on him. Handsome, let's talk this out. Let's put that down, shall we? Wang Cage's face wrinkled up like a steamed bun. No can do. You're a high-value hostage. If you run away, wouldn't I suffer a huge loss? Then I slowly took out my phone and called for bodyguards. After explaining the situation to the bodyguards who quickly arrived, I smoothly left with my new friend, Wang Cage. I used my phone to look up Wang Kaige's information. Aside from seeing that he was the only son of the Wang group, I found absolutely nothing else. Why did those people want to kidnap Wang Cage and pin the blame on my Shuyi? The Wang family was mainly involved in the beauty industry, while Gu Shuyi's side was primarily focused on finance. The two groups didn't even have any business dealings. I stuffed Wang Cage into a taxi, and we arrived downstairs at Gu Shuyi's corporate building. I had him sit on the steps nearby. He was covered in dirt and dust. Then, we walked toward the building. A security guard immediately came up and questioned us. "Hello, unauthorized personnel must leave. Sorry, I need to take this person to see President Gu. So could you please step aside?" The guard looked at me as if I were an idiot. I simply said, "That's fine. It'll just stand right here. I won't get in anyone's way." I prepared to call Gu Shuyi and ask her to send someone down to get me. The guard directly reached out and shoved me, trying to drive me away. His eyes were filled with naked disgust. "I've seen plenty of your kind. Stop daydreaming here. The CEO is so busy, why would she have time to see you?" I frowned, shifted to the side, and had no intention of leaving. The guard's expression turned somewhat ugly. Just then, a woman walked over. "What's going on? What's all this commotion at the entrance? It's ruining the company's image." The guard hurriedly explained from the side. "This person insists on seeing the CEO, but he doesn't have an appointment. I was trying to kick him out, but Hez just standing here, refusing to move." His tone was filled with respect. The woman looked me up and down. "Young man, why use this kind of method to hit on her? There are far too many people trying to suck up to her every day. What you're doing is definitely against the rules. Hurry up and leave." After speaking, the woman rolled her eyes. I instantly got annoyed and unceremoniously fired back. "Did you eat something foul for dinner? Because your breath stinks." The woman sneered. "Someone, escort these two out." I raised my hand to stop the approaching guards. "A high-level executive of the Gu Group is actually this unreasonable? I want to see Gu Shuyi. I'm not trying to hit on her. Someone paid a huge sum of money to target Wang Cage, the only son of the Wang Group, and tried to pin the blame on your President Gu. Are you sure you want to kick me out and delay President Gus' important business?" The woman's face instantly paled. She clearly hadn't expected me to drop Wang Kaige's name. She looked me up and down. The Wang family holds immense weight in the beauty industry. If they really get into a dispute with the Gu Group, the consequences would be unimaginable. She looked me up and down, then glanced at a sluggish Wang Keiji sitting on the floor. She hesitated. "What nonsense are you spouting? How could President Gu be involved in this? Whether it's nonsense or not, just have President Gu come down and see for herself." I patted the dust off my clothes. "I just subdued the kidnappers, and they confessed it themselves. Someone used the eldest Miss Gus name to make the hit. If you kick me out right now, and the kidnappers recant their confession, or the Wang family decides to investigate, can you bear the responsibility?" The surrounding employees all stopped to watch. The woman was stuck between a rock and a hard place, her face turning pale and green. Just then, a cold, familiar voice rang out from the elevator in the lobby. "What's with all this noise?" I felt a wave of relief and turned my head to look. Gu Shuyi was walking toward me, exuding an aura of cold detachment. When the executive saw her, she instantly dropped her arrogance and hurriedly bowed her head. "President Gu, this person forced his way into the company and slandered you by claiming you're involved in a kidnapping case." I was just about to kick him out. Gu Shuyi's gaze fell on me, and her initially cold eyes instantly softened. She walked quickly to my side, reached out, and gently held my hand. "Ah Chen, what are you doing here? Are you hurt anywhere?" Everyone around us was completely dumbfounded. No one expected that President Gu, who dominated the business world, would actually be so intimate with a seemingly ordinary young man like me. I held her hand in return, leaned close to her ear, and whispered, "Shuyi, someone is framing you." I brought the witness. I pointed to Wang Cage on the floor. A trace of coldness flashed through Gu Shuyi's eyes. Then she looked at the executive and said, "You drove away my person without asking any questions, and dared to make a scene in the company lobby. Your behavior has severely violated company regulations and professional ethics. The company has decided to terminate you. Please proceed with your resignation procedures according to regulations." The executive's face turned deathly pale. She begged for mercy repeatedly, but was directly dragged out by security. Those who break the law will eventually face legal sanctions. This is the inevitable result of justice. Gu Shuyi signaled her assistant to take Wang Cage to the lounge and dismissed the onlooking employees. Only the two of us were left in the lobby. She reached out to brush the dust off my shoulder and asked softly, "What exactly happened?" I never ordered anyone to go after the Wang family. I leaned against the wall and told her exactly what happened in the alley just now. The kidnappers received a huge sum to deal a heavy blow to Wang Cage and claimed it was on your orders. The Wang family is in the beauty industry while you're in finance. There's no overlap between you two. It's obvious someone wants to sow discord and ruin your reputation at the same time. Gu Shuyi thought for a moment and blurted out, "It's Duan Mushin." Just as I had suspected, a chill ran down my spine. The man who ruined my entire life in my past life still wanted to pull the same tricks in this life and use underhanded methods to harm us. I held Gu Shuyi's hand, my tone resolute. For Duan Mutian's illegal actions, we will thoroughly hold him accountable through legal channels. Gu Shuyi nodded gently. Her eyes were filled with trust. I believe you, Ah Chen. Soon Wang Keiji woke up. Upon learning he had been framed and discovering that I was the one who saved him, he was immensely grateful. He immediately contacted his parents to explain the truth. The Wang family immediately released a statement, stating they had no disputes with the Gus group, clarifying that there were absolutely no conflicts, and that it was maliciously orchestrated by others. Meanwhile, following the clues I provided, the bodyguards followed the trail and directly tracked down the mastermind, Duan Mutian. It turned out that Duan Mutian, knowing I had Gu Shui's backing, was afraid his misdeeds would be exposed. He also wanted to use the Wang family to suppress the Gus group, hoping to seize the opportunity to absorb them. That was why he orchestrated this kidnapping, attempting to kill two birds with one stone. The bodyguards quickly mobilized and captured Duan Mutian at the Duan family villa. They also uncovered evidence of all the crimes he had committed over the years. As his accomplice, housekeeper Li was also taken away. In court, with irrefutable evidence, Duan Mutian was charged with framing, kidnapping, and false imprisonment, and was sentenced to life in prison. For years of mistreating his masters, embezzling the Duan family's assets, and helping Duan Mutian commit crimes, housekeeper Li's charges were combined, and he was sentenced to 15 years in prison, never to bully others with his status again. As for the female executive who made things difficult for me at the company, due to abusing her power and damaging the company's reputation, she was not only fired, but also blacklisted by the industry, forever banned from entering the financial sector, paying the price for her snobbery and arrogance. As for Tang Feiyu, who had mocked Fu Yexing at the agency, he had relied on underhanded tactics to steal resources and suppress colleagues. After being exposed by netizens, his reputation was ruined. He faced an industry-wide boycott and completely withdrew from the entertainment industry, unable to cause trouble ever again. Those artists who betrayed Fu Yexing were scammed by third-rate companies and ended up struggling at the bottom. Meanwhile, Fu Yexing always stayed true to his principles and treated me with absolute sincerity. Using the resources Gu Shuyi provided, combined with my foresight from being reborn, I landed roles in several hit series one after another, transforming from a nobody into a top-tier best actor. I never changed my agent, bringing Fu Yexing along on this triumphant rise. Not only did he escape the predicament of being fired, he also became the most sought-after gold medal agent in the industry. With a happy family and a successful career, he lived a stable and joyous life. To thank me, the Wang family reached a strategic partnership with the Gus Group. Through their cross-industry collaboration, they launched a brand new model combining beauty and finance. Their business boomed, becoming a legendary tale in the business world. And Shu Yi and I finally broke free from the tragedy of our past lives, welcoming a perfect and fulfilling life. The sunlight was just right that day. I held Gu Shui's hand as we stood on the top floor of the Gus Group, overlooking the bustling traffic of the city. I leaned on her shoulder and whispered softly, "Shu Yi, I was too foolish in the past. I made you suffer so much." Gu Shuyi turned around and gently hugged me. Her almond eyes were full of tenderness. "We will never be apart again." I looked at her. "In the past, you protected me. From now on, I will protect you. I'm no longer someone who needs you to take him in. I am your lover who can stand side by side with you. Together, we'll make the Gus Group even greater and guard each other together, year after year, never to part." Gu Shuyi smiled and nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks. They were tears of happiness. I reached out to wipe her tears away, lowered my head, and gently kissed her lips. The sunlight fell upon us, warm and dazzling. I once went through countless trials in the fast transmigration worlds. I thought rebirth was just about making up for past regrets, until I met Shuyi. That's when I realized the true meaning of rebirth. It's to protect the ones I love, to ensure that kindness is rewarded, to ensure that kindness receives a perfect ending, and to see evil punished by the law. Now villains like Duan Muqian and housekeeper Li are rotting in prison, while good people like Fu Yexing and the Wang family have bright futures ahead. Shuyi and I are deeply in love and devoted to each other, achieving massive success in both our careers and our relationship. All the good things in this world have arrived as promised. In this reborn life, I, Duan Chen, will not let anyone down. I won't fail my lover, nor my good friends. By punishing evil and promoting good, everything has finally reached a perfect ending. For the rest of my life, I will stay by Gu Shuyi's side. We will uphold the righteous path, keep kindness in our hearts, and use love and warmth to write the story of our happy life together.